All right, good morning, everybody, or hello if it's afternoon. So, going over our bell work here. Okay, this is also an excellent review for just general stuff for the quiz. A lot of you guys said that you're a little confused about graphs, so that's why I picked these 6 questions. So, let's get to it. Number 1, on what interval is the graph g of x increasing? Remember, so increasing means that the graph is going up from left to right. So we're looking for behavior where the graph is doing something in this direction, right? Well, if you look immediately, and so this is a multiple choice question on Kidam as well, but if you look immediately, the first interval is from negative infinity to 1. And remember, notice your scale here, every other block, every other tick mark is 1. So that's 1, that's 3. So from negative infinity to 1, if you notice as you read left to right, because we're talking about increasing and decreasing, it's going down. This is decreasing. Okay. Well, at 1, it swings around. We've had this relative minimum. It's a turning point. Now it's coming up. This is our interval of increasing. And then after 3, we have another downward shift and it goes back to decreasing. I'm only asking about the interval of increasing. So it's doing that between when x is 1 and 3. And so what interval are we increasing on? Our interval is from 1 to 3. Number 2, at x equals 3. So that's when x is 3. If you notice right over here, it happens to also be a root, right? So here's where we're looking. Okay, it says g of x exhibits a relative or absolute max or min. Well, I think it's obvious that this is a maximum. It's a little hilltop here. So it's definitely a maximum. And so the question is it relative or absolute? Now remember, absolute means the top of the graph. And if you notice on the left-hand side, this is going up forever. So it's definitely a little bit higher than this point. So it's not absolute. It is relative though. Okay. Number 3, at x equals 1, the graph is concave up or concave down. Well, so let me change color here real quick. So at x equals 1, we're down here at this point. So now this is the point in question for number 3. Okay, so for number 3, we're looking right over here. And to say concave up or concave down, we're looking at the shape of the graph. Is it more of like an opening upwards, smiley face type situation, or opening downwards at this point? Well, hopefully that you see the curve itself is opening upwards. It's got more of a smiley face action happening right there. So we're going to say it's definitely concave up. Okay. Then number 4, hopefully we feel okay about this. Remember, we haven't done one with the graph in a while, but roots, zeros, x-intercepts, they're all the same thing. We're looking for outputs of 0. Okay, and when we're looking at a graph, that's where it hits this x-axis. Anywhere it touches the x-axis is an output of 0. And so you notice we'll have one right here. Here's a root. And we'll have one right here again. This is another root. So what are our roots? We're going to say x equals, and we're just going to list the x coordinates here. This is when x is 0. This is when x is 3. So 0 and 3. Okay. Now number 5, is this graph odd or even? So if we're looking at the function, we've talked about how we look at the highest exponent. And if that highest exponent on x is odd or even, we say the function is odd or even. Now this one, we don't see that, but we do see the behavior. And what gives it away is that you have one arrow pointed up and you have one arrow pointed down. And so because they're going in opposite directions, we're going to say this is an odd degree function. If they're even, remember that the end arrows have to go in the same direction. And then lastly, number 6, describe the end behavior. Okay, I'm going to tidy this up just a little bit so I have some space to write. Again, so I'm not paying attention to any of the intervals of increasing, decreasing anymore. Now we're only interested in these end arrows. So I need to be able to say left and up, right and down. That's what I need to be able to describe. Okay. And so as we say left and up, remember we're going to say as x goes to, remember your directions, left is negative infinity for x. And then as we say up, that's positive infinity in the y direction. So we're going to say f of x goes up, or positive infinity. And then to say right and down, remember right is positive infinity for x. So we're going to say as x goes to infinity, f of x. And to say down is negative infinity. we go. We're going to piece this with this. And that's your solution for number 6. Okay. All right, next up, let's talk about that mental math. So hopefully you've already tried that. If you haven't tried your 5 minutes of mental math, please pause the video here and do your best to try it. All right. Because again, the whole point is for you to think through it. So try it on your own first. So number 1, determine the roots. Hopefully you feel comfortable about that. What we're doing is we're taking everything inside the parentheses. So we'll have 3 of them if you notice. We're setting them equal to 0. So in our minds, what we're doing is I'm looking at that first one. I'm saying, okay, when is 2x minus 3 equals 0? Well, add 3 to both sides, so you're changing the sign. So then it's 2x equals 3. You're going to divide by 2. And so that's your first root, 3 halves. And remember, fractions are totally fine for mental math, where you can say 1.5 if you like. So we're going to do the same thing over here. I'll leave you to solving them. The solutions are negative 7 over 14, or you can just say negative 1/2. And then for the last one, positive 100 over 20, but we need to reduce that also. So let's say 5. So 3 halves, negative 1/2, 5. Number 2, okay, remember f of 0, this means that's what x is. Plug in 0 for x. Okay, so anywhere you see an x, it just becomes a 0. So this is really like saying, what is 10 times 4 times x is 0, take away 3. 2 times x is, or 2 times 0 is 0, plus 7. And so what is 10 times negative 3 times positive 7? Well, that will be negative 210. Number 3. Okay, you guys have had some issues with this going into your cases here. In my head, solving this mentally, I'm moving the 100 over, so I have x plus 4 equals 100. To get rid of this square, we have the square root, and hopefully you remember by now that the square root of 100 is 10, but we have to consider plus or minus. So we have 2 possible ways of solving this. We need to know when is x plus 4 equal to positive 10 versus when is x plus 4 equal to negative 10. So those are going to give you your 2 answers. On the one hand, your answer is 6, and on the other hand, your answer is negative 14. So hopefully you're working through that and you're okay with it. Number 4, cross multiply and make your life easier. It's 15 times 20 divided by 5. I'll divide by 5 first. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And so then we multiply by 20, and that is a total of 60. X equals 60. Okay. Again, if you need to see that, what I'm doing is I'm cross multiplying and dividing. And since I'm doing this mentally, we know that x is 15 times 20 over 5, but I don't want to do that in my head. I'm going to divide by 5 first to make my numbers smaller. So 5 goes into 15 3 times, and then 3 times 20 is much easier. That's just 60. That's where I'm getting that. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, number 5, average rate of change. I'm giving you 2 ordered pairs. Interval goes from 0 to 10. And so in my head, what I'm thinking is I need k of 10 minus k of 0 over 10 minus 0. And so I know that sounds like a lot, but it's just the symbols. Really, it's the y values, the difference in the y values, or the difference in x values. So in my head, what I'm doing is negative 16 minus 4, negative 4 over 10 minus 0. And so do it one at a time. So like, again, I know this is a lot of moving parts, but this is like where I'm saying talk to yourself. So what is 16? Negative 16 minus negative 4? Well, remember, minus is plus. And so that's really negative 12. And so what I illustrated in class to you guys is, okay, remember negative 12. What am I going to ask you about in a second? Negative 12. Okay, cool. What number are you remembering for me? Negative 12. Okay. What will you give me in a second? Negative 12. So that's what goes on top. What is it? Right, negative 12. On the bottom, 10 take away 0 is easy. So it's just, oh, well, what did I say to remember? Negative 12 over 10, which you can either just say is negative 1.2 if you like to divide by 10, or you can reduce it to negative 6 over 5. Either one of those is sufficient. Cool. Thank you guys for participating today. Make sure you're getting caught up on stuff. Remember, read through the slides before you start sending me emails asking questions, because I have a few things that I want you to check on before you just kind of amble about. But make sure you guys get your corrections done today, and make sure that you guys have all your retakes taken for any of the RBAs, mental math, all that good stuff. And then when you finish that, make sure you're following the agenda and you're working on those checklist items. Good luck, guys.